Hey everyone, I'm going to make a little bit of a short video about compost and some of the things that you can use with it to help your seeds uh, to grow better, actually to germinate a little bit better and grow a little bit better. But these are some tomatoes that are growing in a compost pile. That's all. I haven't ever watered these any this year, and we in Louisiana have not gotten the rain we normally get. That's one of them. This is the other plant. I've picked a few tomatoes off of this one already. There's some down there and there's some over here. Let me go to the other side. You can see them better. It is getting a little bit dry. You can see on this limb right here, the leaves are kind of curling a little bit. So it actually could use some water. But there's the tomatoes on it. They're doing pretty good. So, and I have one I need to actually tie up. It's kind of not doing real good. I need to tie it up. These tomatoes right here are hanging, and I need to get that limb tied up before it breaks. You might can see that kink in the limb right there. Get them tied up in time, it won't break. I'll do that when this video is over. And this is my other little compost pile that I have back here. Doesn't have anything growing in it right now. And then I have a big bag that's over there. It's got some compost still in it. And one of those bags is full of charcoal. I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna go up front where my other ones are. Okay, these are my other two piles. This is the older of the two. And this one over here, this actually is not a pile. This is actually just brown to go on a pile that I collected. It's got a little bit of green in it too, but it's mostly brown. And this is where the pile was, and this is where I'm turning it to. And I got buckets out there I was using for water. And then I have other buckets over here that have different ingredients that go in it. That one is a little bit of basic organic matter. It's a wood mulch and some other compost piles that I got and some leaf mold for organic life. And then this one, I think that one is a cow manure. And then I have one across the road that's chicken manure. Anyway, but this pile doesn't really need a lot more manure. I did put some food scraps in it today, but that's about it. The other thing I was going to show y'all is this particular one that I have bought. And I actually bought this from Walmart. It's not probably the best, but it actually does have some, it's a earthworm castings right here. I'll try to get the bag out a little bit, but anyways, they had it at Walmart, and it does actually have the bacteria in it, which is the reason I really bought it, to make some humic acid. I think on the back it actually has the recipes if you want to make extracts. See, it has it for compost tea right there, and then for compost piles, and it has a couple other little things for potting soils. So it actually has some recipes on it too. But anyway, what I got it for was to make humic acid and for the microbiology in it. And one of the things that I also have across the road, which I might show that in this video too, is one that you can actually mix into the ground or onto the seeds for legumes. And it basically makes it have the little nodules that you find on the bottom of clover and legumes, which is nitrogen fixation. And I don't think that bacteria actually works or reacts with anything that's not a legume or a clover type. And I don't know exactly what the clover family is. I know legumes are like peanuts, butter beans, peas. There's I think vetch. I think wood sorrel might even be in there, even though it looks a lot like clover. But clover I think might be a different family. But I know that it does also work with them. But the nodules look different from legumes and clovers. They're actually a little bit smaller on the clovers. But that being said, one of the things I was going to talk about is humic acid. So basically, one of the things that you can actually make with this this earthworm castings is humic acid, which is a good thing to soak your seeds in when you're going to start germinate your seeds. So basically, to do it, it's similar to the compost tea, except for that you're going to make a lot less of it, and you're not going to aerate it or anything. You basically just take a little bit of this, and you can put it in cheesecloth or a sock or whatever you want to use. And then basically I'll just soak it in a strainer or in a pot of whatever kind you want. The only reason we put it in something else is so the dirty part don't get in there. But you basically just set it in there and soak it, and you can move it around, slosh it around, whatever, to try to get as much out as you can. But the water's going to turn brown. And the stuff that's actually in the water, I'll try to make a video of making it also. But I'm trying to get this video out for somebody that I sent some butter beans to. So anyway, once you soak it in there and you swash it around, that brown stuff that's in the water is humic acid. And you can take a small amount of that. You want it kind of like tea colored when you're going to soak your seeds in it. Don't have to be that dark brown. You can dilute it a little bit. But if you soak your seeds in it, it helps them to germinate. Plus, it also puts some bacteria and some other nice things on it that helps to protect the seeds from bad stuff in the ground, and helps them to grow. And if you happen to have the other bacteria, which I'll try to get a picture of in just a minute. Okay, this is the inoculant, and just trying to see, True Leaf Market is where I got it from. And basically, it tells you on here that it's a legume. Try to zoom in a little bit on that. Legume inoculant, seed cover crop inoculation. So basically, this one's designed to work with legumes, but it actually will work with clover also. It is a bacteria form, and like I said, it's what's in this bag. They basically tell you, you should be safe when you're handling and stuff like that. One of the things they do say on this one, I'm pretty sure, is they had said something in some of the paperwork I got for it, was to put it on the ground, not necessarily on the seed, but I do think that might be because they don't want you to handle it basically. But I guess if you got on gloves, that would be fine. Most people handle it without gloves. But you could just put a little bit in there with the seeds. The other thing you could also do, if you had this earthworm castings, I'm going to go back to these and try to get you a bigger picture of it so you can see it. You could also drop a small, like a quarter teaspoon, right underneath where you're going to plant the seed. Drop a quarter teaspoon and put the seed on top of it when you're planting it. This right here, you put a whole lot less than that. You would put just one of them little scoops. If you ever had that stevia that has a little small scoop, but we're talking about like grams of this stuff you would put on the ground. You could also make it in a liquid form into a tea with the humic acid, or with any kind of compost tea that you made. You could add a little bit of this in there with that too, and then make a small amount of it, and you could also use that with it. It's not going to hurt anything if it's on your ground. It just doesn't work, I don't think, if it's not a legume or, like I said, a clover, because the way the plants interact with certain bacteria and fungi and stuff, it's just kind of how it works. If it's not one they work with, they don't have a connection with, they just won't use it, basically. It's not that it's wasteful, it just they won't use it. Another plant that does use it will grab it. But one of the things that talks about this earthworm castings is that you can actually put it in a compost pile. If you were making a cold compost pile, I would say, yeah, that would probably be okay. If you were making a hot compost, I would not put it in there when you're making it when it's hot. I'll show you the difference. These two over here are what we consider a hot compost. They will get hot. Over 135 degrees. That one probably got, this one, the one I just showed you is just now starting. This one is decomposed a whole lot more. Let me just take this fork. I can't turn this one right now, but this one you can see is a lot more broke down than the other one. It's still, you can still see the leaves and stuff, but you're starting to be able to see a lot of the brown that's in there. And if I go in a little bit further, you can probably see it ain't gonna be smoking today. It's got past that hot of a thing. But if I break it open, you can see, well, you probably just seen the steam come out of there. You might can still see the steam if I get a little bit closer. So it's still a little warm. There's definitely steam coming out, but the wind's blowing. But you can see that white in there. That's hot. That's actually an anaerobic because it's gotten a little probably too hot. So, but like I said, this pile is breaking down really good. This pile is about 2 weeks old now, maybe not quite that old. And this other pile, I just started making it. So I'm gonna put this pitchfork back in here. I gotta flip them. Actually, I think I just seen a worm crawling around in there, so it can't be too hot if it's a worm in there. No, that's a different microbe. We ain't gonna worry about that. But that's a different microbe that's in there. Anyway, it's not worms. They can take a little bit more heat. What I see crawling around in there. Anyway, like I said, I'm trying to just get my fork stuck back in here so it won't fall down. I'm going to show you what I make, what I call a cold compost. And that's what my chickens do. Basically, when I cut grass, leaves, different things, I throw it over here for the chickens because bugs will come hide in it. Then the chickens will scratch it out and they'll poo in it. And they'll eat the bugs. And I throw some of their feed sometimes in here. This fence is hot, so I got to watch it. Let me unhook the battery. Okay, now we got the battery unhooked and won't shock me now. But like I said, this is just grass, but you can see it's kind of deep. I'll try to show you right here. It's kind of deep. It's about 3 to 4 inches deep. But underneath it, that soil is nice and wet, and it'll bring in bugs and different things, and the chickens will scratch through it and eat them. And you see right over there, they're taking a dirt bath. And this is a lot of it out here. They had made a big compost pile over here, and I collected it earlier. But anyway, now they just, well, 3 of them still taking. One of them got up. She says, I'm over here taking a picture and disturbing her. But basically, they'll scratch around in that, and they make a compost. We call that more of a cold compost. It don't really get that hot. It does break down, but it doesn't get that hot. You could add worm cast in that pretty quickly. But like I said, the main issue of this video was to talk about the humic acid, and then you can soak seeds in it to help them to germinate. And somebody's hooking the fence back up, so I'm gonna get away from it. So she just collected a whole bunch of eggs and fed the chickens. She's helping me out today. I'm over here goofing off with the video while she's working. But I'm actually going to be turning that compost pile pretty quick. But this is my rake right here. I'll rake it back up, and then they scratch it back out. So that's just kind of how it works. But like I said, that makes a compost too, and it works. It's just like I said, it's cold. It doesn't get hot, so it won't really kill weed. It won't kill any kind of seeds. Let's say weed seeds. A lot of people call a lot of things weeds. Some of it's edible, some of it's not. It's just some of them, what I consider weeds, are things that I don't want. Sometimes a weed is something that you do want. It's a tomato plant that's growing in your corn patch, basically. I can show y'all that too. The raccoons got my corn. Not all of it. I picked a good bit of it too today, but they did hit it last night. So I'm gonna have to come back. I got some traps set for them, but I'm gonna come back and get them. But you can see the corn is laying down up in there. Some of it they knocked down, some of it's still good. Show you a picture of some of the strawberries. So anyway, got a bunch of little runners I need to get put back out. And I got, like I said, I got a couple traps out, and I might even stay over here tonight to shoot them. But the humic acid is the main thing I was making this for. And like I said, I'm trying not to make it any longer than I have to. But basically, you just take the, you can go, if you don't have any compost, you can go to a Walmart or anywhere else and you just buy you some worm castings, and you can make humic acid from it. And like I said, you don't have to make it really strong. You can make it the color of tea. And I just put them like in a red Solo cup, but you can put them in anything you want. And I add about a third of that humic acid solution, it looks like tea, to about 20 seeds, just so they get covered good with the water. I soak them for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, and then, like I said, then when you can actually take them out and let them dry, and then you can plant them and wet them, and it's a lot of people call it priming them. But anyway, it does help them to germinate. They'll germinate a lot quicker. I do that with most everything, whether it be okra, beets, pretty much any seed. I don't do it really, really small seeds like collards and turnips and really small seeds, but bigger seeds, I pretty much prime all of them. So anyway, like I said, it's something that helps. And if you actually have the inoculant for the lagoons, you can actually put a little bit of that on it. Some people, when they're wet like that, they'll dust them like you would do on a shake and bake chicken. Put a little bit in a Ziploc bag and put your beans in it after you take them out of humic acid and they're still a little bit wet, and shake them, and gives them a little light dusting coating of it. And then, like I said, then you can plant it. If you're going to do that, I'm not telling anybody else how to do anything, but they kind of recommend that you would put on gloves to handle it, like the little rubber gloves that you can, disposable gloves, like doctors used to use, and now mechanics and everybody else uses them. But anyway, like I said, those will work. If you don't really want to touch it, you could use a really, really small scoop and scoop it out of the bag, and just put it on the ground, like I said. And the other thing you can do, if you don't have the inoculant, I would use a little bit of this small amount, like I said, a quarter teaspoon or even an eighth of a teaspoon. Once you make your hole to put your bean in it, just drop that in, put your bean on top of it, and then cover it back up with your other dirt. They need to be planted about 1 inch deep. And that worm compost right next to that seed, when the roots come out, will go through it, and that'll inoculate them also. It may or may not have the right bacteria, but it will have some bacteria in there that'll be good. It may not have the ones to make the little nodules for the for the nitrogen holding things. But like I said, if it does have it in there, they'll get the little nodules. If you already have it in your soil, they'll get it that way also. But like I said, I have gotten different inoculants from different places, fungi and other ones. I got another compost pile when I make a different video when I actually am showing more about this one. I was actually making more for people to germinate seeds, and was talking about the compost piles a little bit in the meantime about how you can get it and make the humic acid from it to soak your seeds in, and also the inoculant for the legumes to help them make the nitrogen nodules, or they actually put nitrogen in your ground, which helps your ground out also. But that being said, that's what this video is mostly about. I'm going to show one about how to combine different ingredients for compost, and the difference between a hot and a cold compost pile and other things. But like I said, I'm going to leave that for a different video. This one's plenty long already, so we're going to end it. Thank y'all.